Every generation produces its champions, but few speak of the ones who fight their battles in silence. The Shadow Vanguard is not a soldier of fame or noise. It is the spirit of disciplined endurance that lives within every person who refuses to yield when life demands surrender. To understand the Shadow Vanguard is to study the science of composure, the philosophy of strength without display, and the art of purpose without applause. The true warrior of this creed does not stand on the parade ground of attention. He stands in the trenches of self-control. His victories are invisible but permanent. The student who rises before dawn to master a subject no one appreciates, the worker who performs with precision when nobody watches, the teacher who prepares lessons long after the halls are empty. Each is already part of this unseen legion. The foundation of the Shadow Vanguard is discipline. Discipline is not a punishment but a structure for freedom. It is the architecture of consistency that allows chaos to pass without entry. Every act of preparation is a stone placed carefully in the wall of resilience. The disciplined person does not rely on motivation, for motivation is weather and discipline is climate. It is built through repetition, routine, and respect for time. In education, discipline appears as consistent study, measured evaluation, and a clear respect for process. We're process. The same rule that keeps a soldier ready for the unknown keeps a learner ready for opportunity. Discipline is the language of reliability. It translates effort into excellence. Resilience follows as the next layer of armor. The Shadow Vanguard does not expect an easy path. Obstacles are not interruptions, they are instructors. Every failure is a feedback loop, a signal pointing toward adjustment. The resilient individual treats pain as data, not as defeat. When life presses down, he does not break but bends, learning the geometry of recovery. In classrooms and workplaces alike, resilience can be taught through reflection and review. When an error occurs, the question must not be, who is at fault, but what can be learned. In this way, failure becomes the laboratory of progress. Purpose is the compass that guides all action. Without purpose, power becomes aggression and knowledge becomes arrogance. The Shadow Vanguard operates from an internal mission brief, an oath written in conscience, not ink. It might read, to protect what is right, to improve each day, to stand even when unseen. For students and professionals, purpose may appear as a statement of intent, a to serve through understanding, or a to innovate responsibly. Once purpose is defined, distraction loses its gravity. Purpose stabilizes the wandering mind and transforms ordinary labor into sacred duty. The next arena is self-mastery, the command of the inner battlefield. Every human carries within a legion of conflicting impulses: fear, doubt, ego, impatience. The Shadow Vanguard wins not by suppression, but by synchronization. He studies each emotion until it becomes ally. Anger becomes fuel, fear becomes foresight, and uncertainty becomes inquiry. In educational terms, this is emotional intelligence, the capacity to recognize and regulate inner energy. A person trained in this art does not react impulsively. He responds intentionally. When educators teach mindfulness and reflection, they are training modern vanguards who can lead with composure instead of chaos. Adaptability is the strategy that ensures survival. Environments change, technologies evolve, ideologies shift. The adaptable mind moves like water, filling, shaping, adjusting without losing essence. The Shadow Vanguard studies patterns yet clings to none. In the same way, an effective learner remains curious beyond curriculum. A rigid thinker collapses under novelty. A flexible thinker converts novelty into knowledge. Schools that promote cross-disciplinary learning and problem-based inquiry are constructing intellectual soldiers capable of thriving in any terrain. Adaptability is not surrender. It is tactical evolution. Integrity binds all other virtues together. When the light fades and no eyes remain, integrity decides the next move. The Shadow Vanguard lives by an inner oath, to do what is right even when unseen. Integrity is consistency of character across conditions. It cannot be taught through lectures alone. It must be modeled and experienced. Ethical reasoning exercises, reflective journaling, and open discussion of dilemmas nurture this compass. Integrity is silent strength in motion, the invisible line between competence and greatness. Silent strength itself is the paradox of true power. Forward. The world associates strength with sound, loud declarations, public victories, but the vanguard knows silence can carry more weight than speech. Silence is concentration, patience, and potential energy held in readiness. In leadership, silent strength appears as calm authority, the ability to command respect without raising one's voice, to influence without intimidation. The quiet leader listens before deciding, observes before intervening, and teaches by doing. In education, project teams that rotate leadership silently cultivate this ability. When students experience authority through service rather than dominance, they learn that real power requires humility. The battlefield is a metaphor for life's classroom. Each challenge is a lesson in disguise. The Shadow Vanguard treats every mission as an experiment, every debrief as a study session. He measures performance not by applause, but by accuracy. To translate this into education, imagine a table where each virtue becomes a learning outcome. Discipline equals time management, resilience equals perseverance, purpose equals motivation, self-mastery equals emotional stability, adaptability equals flexibility, integrity equals trustworthiness, and silent strength equals influence. Each can be measured, practiced, and refined like any academic skill. Leadership in the vanguard tradition is service through example. The greatest commanders obey the same rules they issue. The finest teachers practice the same diligence they request. Leadership detached from humility collapses under its own ego. The vanguard knows that influence flows from authenticity, not authority. In a classroom or workplace, leadership should be treated as stewardship, the duty to elevate others. Mentorship programs and peer learning circles mirror the military chain of responsibility, where experience is shared, not hoarded. True leadership begins the moment self-interest ends. The balance between shadow and light is another crucial discipline. The word "a shadow" does not imply darkness but discretion. To live in shadow is to reject vanity, to let deeds speak. In modern culture, visibility is mistaken for value, but the vanguard measures worth by contribution. The scholar who learns deeply even when recognition is scarce embodies the same principle as the soldier who completes missions that will never be reported. Teaching this value means encouraging private progress tracking. Journals, portfolios, personal milestones, so growth becomes internal rather than comparative. Competing with yesterday instead of rivals fosters mastery over insecurity. Legacy is the quiet echo of consistent virtue. The Shadow Vanguard seeks no statues, yet his influence endures. Legacy is built each time knowledge is passed on, each time strength creates strength in others. Teachers, parents, mentors, and leaders participate daily in this unseen transmission. To formalize it, education must reward not only achievement but contribution. When learners mentor peers or volunteer their skills, they engrave invisible medals of legacy upon the community. Influence without recognition is the purest form of service. To live as a shadow vanguard is to transform every ordinary moment into deliberate training. The daily commute becomes meditation, conversation becomes diplomacy, and failure becomes feedback. The individual who lives this way becomes unshakable because he interprets every circumstance as part of his curriculum. Where others see inconvenience, he sees instruction. This cognitive reframing is the secret behind his calm exterior. Psychologically, it strengthens neural pathways of resilience and optimism. Educational programs that integrate reflective practice can cultivate the same neural discipline in learners, allowing them to convert stress into strategy. The ultimate mission of the Shadow Vanguard is mastery of the self in service of the greater good. He understands that personal excellence without communal purpose is vanity. Every skill perfected must become a tool for upliftment. In professional or academic settings, this principle manifests as social responsibility projects, collaborative problem solving, and ethical innovation. Strength that serves only itself is wasted potential. The Vanguard stands guard not just over borders, but over values, the invisible frontiers of humanity that separate wisdom from recklessness. In the end, the creed of the Shadow Vanguard can be condensed into 7 operational codes. Discipline builds you, resilience shields you, purpose guides you, self-mastery refines you, adaptability evolves you, integrity defines you, and silent strength reveals you. Each code corresponds to an educational objective and a life principle. They form a curriculum for the mind, the heart, and the will. When practiced together, they create an individual capable of navigating any field with quiet confidence. To embrace this identity is to accept a lifelong education. The battles never cease because learning never ends. Each challenge merely changes its uniform. The student becomes a professional, the recruit becomes a mentor, the fighter becomes a philosopher. Through all transitions, the same discipline sustains progress, consistent learning, humble service, and unwavering composure. The Shadow Vanguard does not fight to be seen. He fights to be effective. His silence is not emptiness, but energy held in reserve. When he moves, his impact is measured not by volume, but by precision. He teaches the world that greatness requires no announcement. In every field, academia, leadership, art, science, the same truth holds. Mastery whispers while mediocrity shouts. The ones who build civilizations seldom seek recognition, they seek results. Therefore, to all who study, teach, lead, or strive, the invitation is clear. Adopt the creed. Wake before dawn if you must. Train your mind to hold steady when others scatter. Measure progress by growth rather than applause. Speak less, observe more. And when you act, let the quality of your action declare your identity. Be the calm center in a storming world. Let your silence be not retreat but readiness. The world does not need more noise, it needs more steadiness. The Shadow Vanguard is not a mythic soldier from another age. It is the disciplined self waiting within each of us to be awakened, trained, and trusted. When that awakening occurs, the world becomes less chaotic because one more guardian of calm has taken position. The Shadow Vanguard understands that endurance is not born from singular moments of courage, but from the quiet repetition of purposeful acts. Every dawn faced without complaint, every task completed without witness, contributes to a structure of strength far deeper than outward victory. The true measure of greatness lies not in how loudly one succeeds, but in how steadily one perseveres. For the Vanguard, perseverance is the rhythm of existence, a heartbeat that continues even in exhaustion. Each small decision to rise, to focus, to continue despite discouragement forges an invisible armor that cannot be stolen or shaken. In an age of distractions and instant gratification, this form of discipline becomes rare and therefore priceless. The student who reviews material after failure, the worker who studies one more detail before rest, the leader who pauses to listen when anger would be easier, all are practicing the creed of the Shadow Vanguard. In education, the same principle applies. The most effective learners are those who accept difficulty as a teacher, not a deterrent. The Vanguard's silence is not weakness, but focus, a deliberate withdrawal from noise to sharpen perception. True mastery requires observation before action. The soldier surveys terrain before stepping. The scholar surveys truth before argument. Both know that movement without awareness leads to chaos. Awareness is cultivated through patience, and patience is the quiet science of timing. The Vanguard trains his senses to notice patterns others overlook. The rhythm of breath, the weight of footsteps, the tone behind words. In academic life, this skill translates into analytical thinking and emotional intelligence. The ability to perceive beyond appearance separates wisdom from information. In silence, the mind expands, connecting knowledge to intuition. This is why contemplation, though undervalued, remains one of the most advanced forms of education. The Vanguard uses reflection not to escape the world, but to engage it more intelligently. Precision is the weapon of the silent warrior. The Shadow Vanguard would rather act once with clarity than many times with confusion. In every domain, combat, scholarship, art, leadership, the principle of deliberate precision determines success. To act with precision, one must train both patience and preparation. The Vanguard never confuses motion with progress. He understands that pause can be power if used to aim more carefully. The same applies to students who rush to complete tasks without understanding. Education that values process over product teaches this discipline. It trains individuals to think before they act, to analyze before they decide, to understand before they apply. The calm mind is the accurate mind. Calmness is not a gift of temperament. It is a result of training the nervous system to remain steady under pressure. The Shadow Vanguard practices this every day, and so should anyone who wishes to lead or learn effectively. Inside his helmet, where no one can hear, the Vanguard speaks to himself through questions. What is required of me now? What outcome serves the mission? What fear is blinding my sight? This internal dialogue is not doubt. It is strategy. It is strategy. By questioning his motives and perceptions, he cleanses his thoughts of confusion. The same method applies to learners and professionals. Self-questioning transforms uncertainty into awareness. Reflection journals, post-project evaluations, and honest self-assessment mirror this practice. They turn self-talk from criticism into correction. A disciplined inner voice becomes the most loyal ally. The Vanguard measures victory not by the size of his triumph, but by the precision of his control. The strongest warrior is not the one who conquers others, but the one who conquers himself. When rage arises, he channels it into focus. When fear appears, he turns it into alertness. When doubt whispers, he answers with preparation. This conversion of emotion into energy defines emotional literacy, the skill that allows humans to transform chaos into clarity. In classrooms, families, and institutions, emotional literacy should be taught as a strategic science. It builds leaders who react less and respond more. The one who understands emotion commands both self and situation. Darkness, for the Shadow Vanguard, is not an enemy, but a teacher. It strips away distraction until only essentials remain. When sight fails, hearing sharpens. When comfort vanishes, creativity awakens. Deprivation refines perception. In modern education, limitation can do the same. When resources are scarce, innovation is born. A mind that learns to operate within constraints becomes resourceful. It learns to use less to achieve more. The Shadow Vanguard never wastes energy wishing for ideal conditions. He makes excellence from what is available. Every challenge becomes material for mastery. Though the Vanguard often walks alone, solitude never feels like loneliness. Solitude is his university, silence his professor. Within isolation, he converses with his conscience, tests his convictions, and forges clarity. The individual who learns to work alone without the need for constant validation discovers an inexhaustible power. In the modern world, dependence on external affirmation weakens the spirit. The Shadow Vanguard trains independence not out of pride but necessity. Independence preserves authenticity. To think freely in a world addicted to imitation is an act of courage equal to facing battle. Crowds may shout at popularity, but the Vanguard knows truth is often found in quiet corners. He listens more than he speaks because understanding grows in the space between words. Listening is an intellectual and moral discipline, not a passive act. In education, active listening should be taught as part of communication training. Those who truly listen command influence without aggression. They detect unspoken emotions, recognize patterns of thought, and navigate complex social terrain. A good listener is a strategist in conversation. The Shadow Vanguard wins many battles without speaking a single sentence because he listens until the right moment to act arrives. Every mission begins with mental preparation. Before stepping into conflict or responsibility, the Vanguard aligns his thoughts, checks his purpose, and visualizes the desired outcome. Visualization is not fantasy, it is rehearsal. Neuroscience confirms that the brain strengthens the same neural pathways during vivid imagination as during physical practice. When the Vanguard imagines victory, he is already training for it. The same applies to students, athletes, or professionals who mentally rehearse performance. Visualization programs the nervous system for success and builds confidence grounded in preparation. Consistency transforms effort into identity. The Shadow Vanguard knows that excellence is not a result of sporadic heroism, but of daily fidelity to small disciplines. The same time, the same routine, the same quiet focus. These create momentum. Consistency converts practice into habit and habit into instinct. The disciplined learner, like the seasoned soldier, reaches a stage where right action becomes automatic. That is mastery. The seamless union of knowledge and behavior. Schools and training systems that emphasize continuous improvement rather than isolated achievement foster this mindset. The goal is not a single high score, but a sustained pattern of competence. Time itself becomes an ally to the Vanguard. Because he respects its economy, he measures progress not in speed, but in direction. To move quickly in the wrong direction is worse than standing still. Every moment has value when aligned with purpose. Wasted time weakens strategy. Therefore, the Vanguard schedules reflection just as he schedules action. This rhythm of motion and pause keeps him balanced. In education, time management must include deliberate pauses for assimilation. Learning is not the speed of reading, but the depth of retention. Efficiency without comprehension is illusion. The Shadow Vanguard's silence is not withdrawal but focus. He withdraws only from noise that dilutes awareness. In his silence, every sense becomes alert. This is why the quiet mind often sees solutions that loud minds miss. The same principle applies in intellectual work. Breakthrough ideas rarely appear in chaos. They arise in stillness, encouraging students and leaders to cultivate moments of silence. Through meditation, deep breathing, or mindful walks enhances problem solving and creativity. Silence becomes an educational technology of clarity. The unseen discipline of the Shadow Vanguard extends even to speech. Every word he utters must serve purpose. Otherwise, it is withheld. His communication is measured, intentional, and ethical. Words can wound or heal, lead or mislead. He uses them as precisely as a surgeon wields a scalpel. In academia and leadership, communication training must go beyond grammar to include ethical articulation, how to speak truth with respect and conviction. A disciplined tongue maintains unity, just as a disciplined hand maintains accuracy. In the moral structure of the Vanguard, humility stands at the top. The greater his skill, the deeper his humility. He understands that arrogance blinds strategy and isolates the mind. The humble warrior remains teachable. He seeks feedback, even from the inexperienced. In educational culture, humility fosters collective intelligence. It allows collaboration without competition. The classroom that encourages peer teaching transforms into a platoon where everyone learns from everyone. Humility makes knowledge fluid instead of hierarchical. Finally, gratitude seals the discipline of the Shadow Vanguard. Gratitude converts experience into wisdom. By recognizing every lesson, whether painful or pleasant, as a form of instruction, he maintains mental stability. Gratitude prevents bitterness, sustains optimism, and reinforces purpose. In an educational context, gratitude journals or reflection exercises cultivate this perspective. The student who lists what was learned rather than what was lost grows stronger with each challenge. Gratitude transforms endurance into joy, allowing perseverance to feel like peace rather than punishment. The world seldom witnesses the victories of the Shadow Vanguard because they occur within. His battles are fought in thought, his triumphs measured in growth. Yet his influence shapes nations, schools, and families. Every act of quiet discipline, every refusal to surrender to chaos, contributes to a larger harmony. The future is guarded not by noise but by composure. To live by his creed is to become the guardian of one's own potential, the defender of inner equilibrium. The Shadow Vanguard may stand unseen, but his example lights the path for all who value depth over display, wisdom over noise, and education over ignorance. The Shadow Vanguard walks through a world that often glorifies visibility, yet he remains content in his anonymity. His victories do not need applause. His validation comes from alignment between intention and action. The night wind carries no medals, no praise, yet it speaks a truth only he understands, that the worth of a person is determined not by the eyes that see them, but by the integrity that sustains them when unseen. In that darkness, he finds clarity. He knows that one day the lessons he guards will reach those ready to hear them. Every disciplined act, every moment of restraint, every quiet decision to rise rather than react becomes a signal light in the fog of chaos. The Vanguard is not a hero of spectacle, but of transformation, an emblem of mastery through stillness. His story teaches that greatness is not a single summit, but a lifelong ascent. The path to mastery is not paved with certainty, but with endurance through uncertainty. For every triumph seen, there are countless unseen hours of repetition, doubt, and self-correction. The Shadow Vanguard understands this truth deeply. He knows that pain refines purpose and struggle purifies skill. This realization frees him from fear. He no longer dreads hardship, for hardship has become his tutor. In modern life, the same philosophy applies. The difficulties we try to avoid often contain the very wisdom we seek. Students who embrace discomfort as part of learning grow stronger. Leaders who face adversity with reflection rather than panic discover innovation. The Shadow Vanguard therefore becomes a living parable of resilience. That to overcome the external world, one must first conquer the inner battlefield. He carries no flag of conquest, no emblem of domination. His insignia is invisible: focus, humility, patience, and service. The Vanguard's silence conceals a deeper voice, one that speaks not in words but in example. He is the unseen mentor of those who pursue quiet excellence. When a teacher spends an extra hour refining a lesson, when a soldier practices form long after others have rested, when a student persists in learning a complex idea, they are all walking in his shadow. This invisible fraternity of perseverance unites all who refuse mediocrity. It proves that success is not a moment but a lifestyle, not a gift but a discipline. The Shadow Vanguard lives within anyone who strives sincerely without seeking applause. But there comes a moment, even for him, when reflection demands more than endurance. It demands legacy. The Vanguard realizes that silence alone is not enough. It must inspire others to listen. He does not emerge to seek recognition, but to pass the torch. He teaches that every human carries within them a form of shadow, the quiet potential that waits beneath fear, doubt, and hesitation. To awaken it is to begin the transformation from chaos to clarity. He speaks at last, not to command but to remind. In every person, there is a vanguard waiting to rise, the one who acts with honor when no one watches, who learns when others complain, who builds while others boast. That is your true strength, not noise, not fame, but focus. And then, as always, he disappears into the night, leaving behind only a sense of calm purpose. Those who have heard his message carry it like a quiet pulse in their daily work. The student studies not for praise, but for understanding. The leader commands not through fear, but through wisdom. The worker dedicates effort not for recognition, but for excellence. Slowly, quietly, the world begins to change, not through grand speeches or loud revolutions, but through thousands of unseen acts of discipline. The Shadow Vanguard's legacy becomes the silent foundation of progress. In the final moment of his journey, standing beneath a sky laced with stars, he looks upward, not to seek answers, but to acknowledge the infinite vastness that mirrors the inner universe. He realizes that education, mastery, and wisdom are not destinations but endless constellations to explore. The night teaches him one last lesson. The purpose of light is not to erase darkness, but to coexist with it, guiding others through. And so with steady breath, he whispers into the wind, My task is done, but the mission continues in every soul that dares to learn quietly, live deliberately, and lead with integrity. Then he steps forward, dissolving into the horizon. Not vanished, but transformed into an idea, a symbol, an energy that lives wherever discipline meets purpose. The Shadow Vanguard no longer walks beside us, yet his spirit endures in the silent strength of those who rise at dawn, train in solitude, and act with unseen greatness. His story ends not with sound, but with resonance, a reminder that true power does not announce itself. It simply exists, steady and unshakable, within the hearts of those who choose to master themselves before seeking to master the world. And thus the legend of the Shadow Vanguard concludes, not as a tale of conquest, but as a lifelong education in focus, humility, and endurance. For in the end, it was never about the battle fought outside, but the one won within.